my stunt double has something to say about the latte liberals and how they comport themselves. And this is what she had to say. It's interesting that so-called moderates who cling to identity politics are backing Adam Schiff, Congressman Adam Schiff, that is, instead of a progressive black woman when the Senate has no black women. Interesting. Yasmin, your thoughts on what Congressman Ro Khanna has just announced, and also what my stunt double had to say.
Yeah, I hadn't even realized that we had no black women in the Senate until you just said that. And I guess I'm not surprised, but that does seem very strange.
And Yasmin, to your point, and sorry for cutting you off on your thoughts. I mean, it took such a long time. Carol Moseley Braun was the first black woman in the United States Congress. And then we had Congresswoman, now Vice President Harris. Yeah, zero black women in that Congress. Right now.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, we feel so advanced and we think of ourselves as being so advanced, but we're just not where we would like to think that we are. And like it or not, identity politics will play a role in this race, whether we think it should or not. And I personally, there are some mixed feelings there. I think the best person for the job should get the job, but I also strongly believe in the positive impact of representation, especially in government. That said, I also believe that there are plenty of people who are more than qualified for positions who are anything but the status quo. So I don't think that it has to be one or the other. I would love to live in a world where we don't have to keep having these conversations around representation, but I just don't think that we're there yet. And that's the thing, when we're talking about elected government officials, we are literally talking about representation in the most literal sense, right? We're trying to elect people who represent our values and ideals. And we know that many more Americans hold progressive beliefs than we have representation for in our government. We know that the demographics that represent us in our government do not represent the demographics of people who actually live in this country. We'd all love to see more Congress people fighting for things like Medicare for all and for the Green New Deal, but also for racial equity and gender equity. In California specifically is a grossly underrepresented state based on its population. And I think the whole country will be watching the Senate race, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. And identity, for the sake of identity, I mean, we've had identity politics in this country since its inception. It's been the rich white male identity. That has been the norm. But when I refer to the latte liberals, they're the ones that prance around and talk about how important black women are, and black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. But yet those same folks, put Yasmin back up with me, we're having a conversation. Those same folks then go and endorse Congressman Adam Schiff. Now, Yasmin, they might have some really, substantive reasons as to why they're doing that. But my stunt double is putting out that most of those latte liberals, they only do it for their own convenience, and they have no conviction about whether or not, what is the representation. And it's the whole package, it's everything. It's not just being a woman, it's not just being African American or somebody of another race or ethnicity. It's not just those things. Those things enhance it. And you're absolutely right. Had we been the type of country from its inception that valued those things, we wouldn't be in the place that we are in right now, where we got to sit up here in the 21st century in 2023 and say with a straight face that there are no black women in the US Senate and in the history of the United States of America. Even though black women have been not forget the Democratic Party, the black women have been the backbone of this entire country. Don't get me started on how black women have had to sacrifice their bodies and their minds and their hearts and even their families. Hello, somebody. But to sit up here and know that in the 21st century that we don't have a black woman in Congress and nobody really cares. And yes, and you know what? It's not even Congress. I can tell you, even in my own state, and I served in the Ohio Senate, and this pains me, this galls me, because I'm about the symbol and the substance. I want them both. And what galls me is to have white liberals, them latte liberals, use identity in a way that they don't care. They don't care whether or not communities of color are truly uplifted. They use black people or other people of color as shields for their foolishness. But in my very state, Yasmin, will not believe, in the state of Ohio, from the great city of Cleveland, the county known as Cuyahoga, we have 0 black people represented in the Ohio Senate. When I was there, there were 2 Black women senators, myself and Senator Shirley Smith. And to think that we were making progress. I used to work for the first Black woman elected to serve in the Senate. I didn't work for her when she was elected there, but I got a chance, along my career path to work for her, and that's Ryan McClellan of Dayton, Ohio. But to know that from the largest county in the state, to know that where the city of Cleveland is majority Black, that we have 0 Black people, Black women or Black men, representing the great state of Ohio from Cuyahoga County. So it's not just what is happening in the Congress. These kinds of things are happening all over the country. And it just seems to me, Yasmin, when we think we're making progress, like we can never just rely on what is happening in the moment. We must always guard progress. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you completely. I think it's really hard. I love how you call them the latte liberals. I've never actually heard that before. So I think it's actually kind of perfect because it is a whitewashing of issues that concern communities of color and anybody who's pretty much not a rich white man, right? A rich cisgender white man, right? If you want to add another layer to it. And the truth is you're never going to truly understand the struggles and the issues that a certain section of the population is facing until you actually engage with them or you come from that community, right? And the only way that we can ensure that our government is reflecting those needs and those concerns, the things that plague those specific communities, is by having people from those communities represent us in government. And again, that's why it is so important to have some kind of diversity in our government systems. And that's at the federal level, the state level, and also at the local community levels. I live in Houston, Texas, and we're a very diverse city. I don't think people realize how diverse Houston is. It's actually one of the most diverse cities in the country. I think it's like second to New York City, actually. But we have had the benefit of having people of color in our city governments. But now we're getting taken over by a lot of oversight from state officials. Our Texas GOP, the party of small government, is here in Houston interfering in all of our local initiatives. And a lot of those initiatives do benefit people of color and our communities of color. And those communities have been getting overlooked quite a bit by our government, and they've been overlooked by commercial development and things like that. And they've been negatively impacted in ways that they really should not have been. Also by pollution. These communities also tend to be in areas where there's a lot of, oil and gas pollution here in Houston. And it's not fair that they're targeted in that way. And those communities need people in the government championing them and speaking to those issues and helping them out. So going forward, I really hope that we can see that not only in Congress, but as you said, at all levels of government, wherever people need representation, I hope they get it. And I hope that we're at least moving in that direction instead of moving the opposite direction.
I do too, Yasmin. And it's a consciousness too. You know what I mean? It's not just phenotype. It is the consciousness that people bring to the table as well. We need that. Yeah, we need the representation is vitally important. And this is not a but, and we need a certain consciousness level, because you can have somebody in the Black community, we say all the time, you my color, but you're not my kind. Meaning you might not be rocking with the same things I'm rocking for. Do you believe in Medicare for all? I'm just using those for example. So it'll be one thing just to have a woman or another person, a person of color, but if they not standing up for what is right, just and good, if they don't believe in lifting the everyday people in this country, then what good is that? And that is why I indict the latte liberals, because they only use Black people and other people of color and women for that matter when it suits them, but they care nothing about whether or not those people that they're propping up, and it's the neoliberals, the people that they prop up. Do those people actually care about changing the material conditions? Now we got Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who's a progressive. See, that's it. Because see, these latte liberals, they'll go harder after progressives than they will against Republicans. So we're gonna see what happens here. Well, we watching this, baby. We will be reporting on this over and over again.